All right, so we're still looking at solving absolute value equations. Now we're going to look at modeling one real life situation. All right, so this question says you are driving on a highway and are about 250 miles from your state's border. You set your cruise control at 60 miles per hour and plan to turn it off within 30 miles of the border on either side, so either side of the border, okay? Find the minimum and maximum number of hours you will have your cruise control on. All right, so one way to solve this would be to set it up as an absolute value equation, which should make sense since we're talking about absolute value equations, right? All right, so the first thing we're going to do is look at what we have, okay? So we know that you're about 250 miles from the border and your cruise control is set at 60 miles per hour, okay? So let's start by saying 60 miles per hour, and we're 250 miles from the border, okay? So we can set this up as an absolute value, and it says we want to turn it off within 30 miles on either side of the border. So that's the reason we have an absolute value, because remember, absolute value, we're going to take this and we're going to set it up equal to 30, and then we're going to take the same thing and set it equal to negative 30. So that would represent the two absolute value equations to represent each side of the state's border. All right, so what does this represent? The 60x represents the distance you're traveling at 60 miles an hour. We don't know what that number is. We're going to call it x. And then we know that this is the distance from the state's border. 250 miles is the distance from your state border. And then we know that 30 miles represents the number of miles on either side of the border. So let's solve and see what we get. All right, so we're going to have 60x minus 250 equals 30, or 60x minus 250 equals negative 30. All right, let's add 250 to both sides. 60x equals 30 plus 250 is 280. And let's divide by 60. So 280 divided by 60. All right, 4.67. If we want to turn that into a fraction, we can. All right, that's 14 thirds. 3 goes into 12 4 times, so that would be 4 2/3. All right, let's solve the other one. So we're going to add 250 here. So we're going to have 60x equals negative 30 plus 250 would be 220. And if we divide both sides by 60, x equals 220 divided by 60. Again, let's change that to a fraction. It's going to be 11 thirds. So 3 goes into 9 3 times, and then 2/3 left over. So that's the same as 3 2/3. So this represents the minimum and maximum number of hours you will have your cruise control on. So you will travel at least 3 2/3 of an hour. So 2/3 of 60 minutes is 40 minutes. So like 3 hours and 40 minutes. So you will travel at least 3 hours, 40 minutes. Because remember, when you're talking about time, you're talking about time in hours. All right, so 2/3 of an hour, 40 minutes out of 60 is 2/3. So that's why I turn this to 3 hours and 40 minutes. So you're going to travel at least 3 2/3 hours, or 3 hours and 40 minutes, and at most means no more than, at most 4 2/3 hours. So again, 4 hours and 40 minutes. All right, so you will travel at least 3 hours and 40 minutes and at most 4 hours and 40 minutes with your cruise control on. So to find the minimum and maximum number of hours you will have cruise control on, that's what this answer represents right there. All right, self-assessment. This gives you an example that you can set up and try to work out on your own. So you should take and pause the video and try to set this up as an absolute value equation. Remember, one of the state standards says you have to be able to write equations. So write an absolute value equation to find the minimum number of hours the plane will travel at that speed. Again, this is similar to the one we just did. So take some time and work that, and then come back to see if you got it correct. All right, hopefully you took time to work this problem out on your own to see if you got it correct. But now I want you to look and see if you set it up correctly. So it says the plane is flying at a speed of 150 miles per hour, so 150x. The pilot plans on flying at this speed for the next 160 miles, so minus 160 miles. All of that's in absolute value, because we want to do plus or minus 25 miles. So it's going to be equal to 25 miles. And then write an absolute value equation to find the minimum number of hours the plane will travel at that speed. All right, so we've got x would be 1 hour and 7 over 30 hours, or x would be 9/10 hour. So it says find the minimum number of hours the plane would travel at that speed. So the minimum number of hours would be 9/10 of an hour. So you just have to do 9/10 of 60 minutes to figure out how many minutes that is. So the most important thing is, can you write an absolute value equation? Can you write this? And then hopefully you can solve and check it as well. Remember, if you take this number, plug it in, you should get the number on the right side. And if it's the same number, then you know that you solved it correctly.